Hey everyone, January wrap up. It's a brand new year, everyone. I've been doing quite a lot of reading. Who is you? The first book that I read in January was a bit of a letdown. It was the Last Wish first short story collection in the Witcher series, which is by Andrzej Sapkowski. It's written in Polish, translated into English. I enjoyed the TV show. It's fun. I started reading the books and I don't think I will continue because while there were some cool spins on fairy tales and the premise is interesting, like the idea of a witcher who hunts monsters and kills monsters is interesting, but the execution horrifying. Horrifying's a bit of it was tiresome because there's a lot of misogyny in the book. Women are harassed and abused. Geralt gets annoyed at a young girl for not thanking him enough for rescuing her from a rapist. Descriptions of young women's bodies, and they're not even women, they're girls. Yennefer is just sexualised for the sake of it, even though she's a powerful mage / wizard sorceress, but then she gets reduced to sexualisation. Yeah. Don't read it if you respect women. Love by Angela Carter. This is a very short novella story, essentially, about three weirdos in the 60s. There's two brothers who are creeps and just bizarre, and then there's a young woman who is very fragile and has mental health issues. Beautiful writing, as always, with Angela, but I don't know, I found it really hard to get through because it was just, I didn't really enjoy the story, which I was surprised at. I don't really understand the point of it, and maybe that's a failure on my part. Next, I read Rendezvous with Arama. Again, this was okay. It's very typical of classic sci-fi where it's plot over everything else, and it's interesting. It's set in the year 2130, and it's basically about astronauts, scientists going to a spacecraft that has entered our solar system, and they've only got a limited time to explore it before it gets too close to the sun, and then everyone would perish. But yeah, I love space exploration and first encounter stories, but I feel like this could have been more, and I know the series does continue. I've heard that it just is a bit shit, so I don't know whether there's any point continuing. There was also a nice bit of sexism in here. Get ready for this one, folks. Some women, Commander Norton had decided long ago, should not be allowed aboard ship. Weightlessness did things to their breasts that were too damn distracting. It was bad enough when they were motionless, but when they started to move and sympathetic vibrations set in, it was more than any warm-blooded male should be asked to take. Really? Why? Fuck's sake. Next, I finished Pet Sematary. I've been listening to it on audiobook since October. I'm very slow at audiobooks because for some reason I feel like I have to do something to warrant listening to them. So I would just listen to it while I was going out for walks. Sometimes they were really short, so I'd only listen to 20 minutes. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very atmospheric, creepy, and almost damning look at fragile masculinity within the family unit, which I didn't expect from King. I don't know why. I just thought it was going to be straight up horror, but it was more than that, and I really enjoyed it, and I really liked the narration as well. Yeah, so I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to continue exploring Stephen King's work. Then I read a short story because I saw it on TikTok. It was coming up on my For You page quite a few times, and everyone was like, oh my god, it's amazing. It was The 6 Deaths of the Saint by Alex E. Harrow, and it's a little fantasy novella of 30 pages that you can read on Amazon Prime, and it was really good. It played with the sort of medieval chivalric romances of the olden days, but made it more modern, and there's twists in it. It very much feels like almost like a fable as well. It's teaching you a story, and basically the story is to cherish what you already have, and that love can conquer all. I think it's definitely worth a read if you like fantasy, female-led narratives, short, sweet 30 pages that pack a punch and that make you think. Next, I read The Reindeer Hunters by Lars Muting. I need to learn how to pronounce people's names. This is the sequel to The Bear in the Lake, which I read in 2022 and was one of my favourite books of the year. And by Jove, did this live up to the expectation. It was delightful. I loved it. I devoured it. And it was just so nice to be back with these characters. And it made me cry again. I don't know whether I was just feeling really emotional, but just one character in particular, it's the pastor Kai Schweigard. His story is just so softly tragic. I don't know whether that's the correct turn of phrase, but it's just an underline of tragedy in his storyline, and it's very sweet and sad, and there's just moments in this book that are callbacks to what you read in the previous book, and you're just like, oh goodness. But yeah, this story kind of follows on from the previous one. I don't really want to like spoil it because I don't want to ruin anyone's reading of the first book if they haven't read it yet. But yeah, it continues on from that one. There are some new characters. There's just intrigue, folklore, and it is set in like this very quaint village in Norway at the turn of the century this time. So 1903 I think it begins, and then we go up through the First World War. I wholeheartedly recommend this if you want something that just is easy to read, it's moving, and the characters are beautifully realised. It's originally Norwegian, it was translated by Deborah Dawkin, and yeah, if you love historical fiction and interesting characters just going through time, interweaving of folklore, read it. Do yourself a favour, read it. Oh yeah, and then the next things I read J.R. Tolkien's essay on fairy stories, which is basically a lecture. I think it was written as a lecture, and I think he presented it as well, on the origins, the purpose, and what makes a good fairy tale, which he goes very into depth of what a fairy tale is and what makes it one, and his exploration of it. And it's not pretentious at all, because a lot of the time like people are like, oh, fantasy, sci-fi, no, that's not literature. But yeah, he's pretty much like advocating that it's one of the oldest forms of story. Folk tales, fairy tales, mythical creatures. But yeah, I kind of read it because I started a course online. It was like free from University of Iceland, and it's all about medieval Icelandic sagas, because I just wanted to explore them more. Like I've read I haven't read the Poetic Edda yet. I started reading it last year, but I haven't finished it yet. Oh god, the amount of books I start and never finish. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I'm like halfway through the Poetic Edda. I will probably finish it soon. I've already read the Prose Edda, and I just wanted to kind of delve more into medieval Icelandic sagas like the Norse sagas. And yeah, so I found this free course online. I thought I'd read like a bit of theory from Tolkien, and then obviously I'll be reading some sagas. So in February, get ready for like just loads of Norse shit. I really enjoyed reading an essay, and I'm enjoying learning about some of our oldest stories, which I think is kind of beautiful. Like, it's very like romantic almost, like studying the oldest stories of our ancestors. And that's something I do want to explore more of this year, is more mythology. I know I probably said that last year or the year before, but sometimes I just kind of get swept up with certain things. But yeah, I do want to explore more mythology from around the world this year. On to movies. I'm just going to do this quickly because I don't want these videos to like last forever, because they're a pain in the ass to edit, and I'm sure nobody wants to hear me rambling about everything for like 60 years. The first movie I watched in January and 2023 was Aftersun by Charlotte Wells. My goodness, is it heartbreaking. It feels like it's just going to be a story between a father and his young daughter on holiday. I think it's in Greece, just like sort of exploring and just meandering, but then it becomes something freaking tragic and heartbreaking, and it just made me cry so much, and then I can't stop thinking about it. And wow, I think I probably do actually often say masterpiece, but it definitely is up there. Literally so powerful, gut-wrenching. I will never be able to listen to Under Pressure in the same way ever again. Utterly heartbreaking, moving, beautiful cinema. I'm really happy that Paul Mescal got a nomination for Best Actor, because his performance was amazing. I'm mad that Charlotte Wells didn't get any director or best film nods. What is it with the Oscars? They nominate some things you think, why? And then other things you think, you missed that completely. Decision to Leave, no nominations. Ridiculous. Love the fact that Everything Everywhere All at Once is getting all the love, but Decision to Leave? Where? Also, another film I was surprised that got a lot of nominations was All Quiet on the Western Front. Electrifyingly horrible, the film, the content, but an amazing film. So I'm glad that's getting attention as well. But yeah, a decision to leave, how dare they? Anyway, next movie I watched was Howl's Moving Castle. This is my second foray into Studio Ghibli movies. I think I watched the one with the witch and the cat a few years ago, and then I just didn't watch any more. But Howl's Moving Castle, it was so delightful, so lovely, heartwarming, beautiful. Again, like a fairy tale come alive. I watched the English dub version on Netflix because normally I do watch everything in its original language with subtitles, but with animation you can kind of get away with it because of mouth moving it's not really a thing. Because like when you watch live action and people are talking in different languages and then the words, it just, no. But with animation you can get away with it. So I normally do watch anime in English the first time around, and then I will in future probably watch it in its original language, purely because I just want to be completely immersed in the visuals, because the artist painstakingly created every single frame. It deserves to be completely devoured through your eyes. Really enjoyed it, and it's become an instant favourite because it's just literally magic. Next I watched Empire of Light, directed by Sam Mendes. I thought it was alright. It was good but not like sensational, and it kind of reminded me a bit of Rainer Werner Fassbinder's Ali Fear Eats the Soul. Perhaps that's just me because it's about a black man who has a relationship with an older woman. The parallels are there. Some of the cinematography felt a bit evocative, like the way door frames were used is like creating claustrophobia and like the forbidden sense of their romance. It did feel like it owed a bit to Fassbinder's masterpiece. But yeah, like Olivia Colman's always an amazing actress, and she portrays the turmoil of mental illness and the quite desperation of living an unfulfilled life quite impeccably. So yeah, it's a good film, it's just not sensational. Then I watched Persona, Ingmar Bergman. For a long time I didn't really get it. It's very like artsy, it's gorgeous, it's set on I've forgotten what the island is called, but it's all filmed there, and it's beautiful. Like, Bergman is a pure artist, but it was just like a bit of a tough watch. And like, I know like a lot of film, like people say I really enjoyed it, blah blah blah, but there's some films that aren't enjoyable to watch, but you get a lot out of watching them, and I think Persona is one of those films, and it's the kind of film that would owe itself to a rewatch after rewatch, perhaps, to just unpack more of the layers. It was an interesting study on like duality and, I don't know, like forgetting yourself and getting lost in someone else and losing your identity and stuff like that. It was a great watch. Then I watched another Studio Ghibli film, which was Whisper in the Heart, is that it? Whisper of the Heart, which I thought was just like a cute story. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I was younger, but it was cute nonetheless. Then I watched 13 Going on 30 because I was just bored one night and I was like, oh my god, I haven't seen that film in ages. Oh my god, I'm turning 30 this year. But unfortunately I won't be 30, flirty and thriving, because you can't in this economy. This year's going to be a tough one, I can just tell. It's weird because you kind of, a lot of the time you feel young, when you're younger you feel like you will have everything figured out when you're 30. But I literally don't know what I'm doing. And like, I was made redundant recently, like 2 days before Christmas. Woohoo. And I don't know what to do. And like, I've never really known what I actually really, really want to do. Like, when I was younger I would watch movies and then suddenly I'd want to be that person doing that job. So like, Indiana Jones, archaeologist; The Mummy, Egyptologist; Jurassic Park, paleontologist; American Psycho, murders and executions. You get my drift? Like, so like, I've never really known what I want to do. I'm joking, by the way, I don't want to participate in murders and executions, but I do want to have a business card battle with someone. So I'm a bit lost. It was just fun to watch a film that I haven't seen since I was a teenager and kind of think, oh my god, it's so cheesy, so unrealistic, but it makes you think, like, she thought that if she was popular, if she had like this top job, that she'd be happy. She wasn't, so just cherish what you have and just be goofy and weird. That's the takeaway. The final film I watched, I literally started watching it just before midnight, so I technically finished it on the 1st of February, but we're going to include it because I will forget about it at the end of February. But that is A Taste of Hunger, which is a Danish film about a chef and his wife, and they have a restaurant and they're striving, hoping, dreaming for a Michelin star, and basically it ruins their life. And it's the kind of restaurant that the menu takes the piss out of because it's just so pretentious. But I kind of love that. Like, I love how arty this film is. The cinematography was gorgeous, and like while I was watching it I was thinking, I bet you this cinematographer worked with either Lars von Trier or Thomas Vinterberg before. Lo and behold, he's worked on a lot of Lars von Trier films because the cinematography is fucking gorgeous. Like, this film, beautiful. It was a bit too melodramatic and focused more on like infidelity and romantic troubles than actual food, which was a bit like, okay, that's where we're going. And there was like religious sort of interweaving with the whole idea of forbidden fruit and Adam and Eve. That was quite interesting. So there were layers to it, but a lot of it was like surface layers and like metaphors for the sake of metaphors. But it was enjoyable watch. It has, who's the guy? Nikolai Coster-Waldau? Can't pronounce his name. He was Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones. He was in it. He's really great in it. I just love Danish movies. I think they're brilliant. On to TV, we're just gonna like quick fire. Slow Horses season 2. That was pretty good. Some of it was like unrealistic. One of the characters has severe plot armor. Interview with the Vampire. Sensational, brilliant, amazing. Everything I wanted it to be and more. Lestat is like magnificently over the top, despicable, but so charismatic. The changes they made to Louis' storyline, brilliant. Adds so much more depth to it. The fact that he is a black man in a time where there's just rampant racism, so he's got that to deal with as well as becoming a vampire, and just all the connotations it brings. Like they talk about it in the show as well, the fact that Lestat is a white man and he's Louis' master. But it's so good. I devoured it and I can't wait for season 2. But yeah, like I think there were a lot of important conversations that you couldn't have had if Louis had stayed as a white guy. So people that were like complaining about that, check your racism. I watched Vikings Valhalla. That was quite fun, and like I watch it for the plot, obviously. Oh, The Last of Us. I'm now scared of mushrooms. No, not really, but it kind of like feels very plausible, and for a while I was like, oh my god, what if this actually happened? And then episode 2, the way that ended, what the devil? Tendrils. I actually choked because I was gagging. And then episode 3 literally shattered my heart, and I just fucking wept for like half of that episode. It was so beautiful. And like when they ate strawberries, and then like, oh, just everything. It was perfection. I loved it. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this show. The main reason why I watched it is because I haven't played the game because I'm a chicken, and because I really like Pedro Pascal. I think he's a great actor, and like he played my favourite character in Game of Thrones, Oberyn Martell. And so like literally if he's anything I'll watch it, like Narcos, Mandalorian. But yeah, like it's so good. I can't like say anything about it being an adaptation, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think it adds something totally new to the zombie genre that The Walking Dead kind of flogged to death, because I gave up on that because I just got bored of it. But yeah, like the idea of the fungal shit, fascinating, amazing. Like the idea of them all being connected, mind-blowing. The Legend of Vox Machina came back. I love this show so much. It's just like pure fun fantasy in animation. I don't really have anything to say about it other than it's just really great and I love watching it. And if you haven't watched it, go watch it. So yeah, that is my wrap up. Thank you for watching. I've tried to do this as quickly as possible because I know like everyone's attention spans are just like slowly withering away. But maybe I'll do like 2 separate videos in future, like one for books, one for movies and TV shows, or maybe I'll just keep this format. Let me know in the comment section what you've been reading this month, what you've watched, and let me know if you've read or watched any of the things I've spoken about, and I hope to see you again very soon. Bye bye.
Lazy Sunday mornings, hiding under covers. I don't mind staying in with you. Play your favorite movie, laying right beside me. I don't mind when it's just us two.